Okay, so for this drawing, this is a drawing to gain skill in how to get different levels of light to dark through value. We're going to be using charcoal and charcoal-like materials. These grays are pastels. So for this exercise, you're going to need a white charcoal pencil, a black charcoal pencil, a vine charcoal pencil, which is that kind of round one. And the pastels you'll need are white, light gray, medium gray, a dark gray, and it's different than the black, and then a black. Okay? All of those you'll need for this. It's helpful to have an eraser and a blending stump and a paper towel if you want. So once you have all these materials in front of you and you're ready to go, I'm going to slide this off. This is the drawing that we'll be creating, but I'm going to start from scratch and show you guys how to do this. So I'll put this over here. All right. So we're going to start, instead of starting with the black, which I think we normally use a dark pencil on light paper, right? We're going to actually use the white pencil on, this is kind of a medium-based gray paper, all right? We want to fit this whole thing in here, and we want to fit some of the shadows in here. So if your shadows are growing off to the right, I would suggest shifting your object a little to the left, or vice versa. If you guys want to shut the door, I wonder if that would help with your light. That might help a little bit to get more of a shadow line. Give it a try. Okay. So I'm going to just start with the very first shape that's in front of me. And everyone might have it slightly different depending on how, you know, what your viewpoint is. But it's the shape that's a little like a kite. So I'm going to start a little to the left because my shadows go off to the right. And I'm going to use that winky eye trick of like looking at the angle and kind of bringing it to, bring it to the paper. I keep it very light and loose. And I'm going to probably want the base of this right here. I'm going to move this over just a smidge. Again, you can erase a lot of this. It's okay if you want to shift your lines just a little. This is just a sketch. And I want to make sure that I feel like I'm getting the proportion correctly, and I do. And then I want to do the same thing for the top. Remember, it's kind of a kite shape. So the top angles and proportions are going to be a little steeper, and the lines will be a little shorter than the bottom lines here. And then we, of course, have our seam line down the center, right? That's our first shape. We're going to be drawing the underside. We're going to be drawing the other angles, and I want you to really just draw what you see. So the first line I'm going to do is the line off to the left here on this side of my drawing. It's a little different. It's almost the same as this line. But if I run my pencil along the edge and wink my eye, I notice it's not exactly the same as this angle. It goes down just a smidge. So they're close, but not the same. So take a look at that. And then the other thing you want to notice is where the foot is. This is the foot closest to me, but this foot doesn't come all the way to here. It ends right there. So I want to make sure that I'm ending it on an angle. And again, you can measure that angle using your pencil, bringing it over, and it ends there. We're drawing these in perspective, so the feet are going to angle like this. Now I'm going to do the other side, to the other foot. So I draw it like this angle is going to, it's not going to come out straight. It's going to angle down ever so slightly, be a little different. And again, I'm going to measure the angle of where the right hand side foot meets the ground. Right there is where it meets the ground. And again, this is a very loose sketch, very light. Now from here, I'm going to draw the underside of this fold, that fold that went in, and that meets right under here. And I'll do the same thing on the right-hand side. And now there's usually some area back here that you can see. And one of the things I want you guys to look at when you're drawing this is if you were to put your pencil visually on the top of this, the point right here, how do these other angles come down? How severe? How close? It's not, definitely not a straight line, right? But it's down just a little bit on this side. So I'm going to draw the top edge that I see there. And the one over here, again, it's not straight across, but it's just a little bit down in this direction. That's the other fold that we start to see in that direction. That comes out past this little point, and I just see a little bit of it right here. This one comes out further, and I see more of that angle right there. So it should look a little bit like this. Well, that's really all I see. It's enough. Now, once you get that, you might say, okay, well, I got to look at this. This corner is really kind of directly above that one, so I might have to angle that just a smidge more and erase that. Again, no drawing. It's not about getting it perfect each time. It's about figuring out how you're seeing this. And okay, maybe I have to smudge that in just a little on the right side. And the push and pull of drawing these lines and getting them just where you want. That's super important. I just kind of brought these corners in just a little. That's drawing from observation. Just noticing, you know, where this point lines up with this point, where this point lines up with this one. The last thing I'll have you guys do is start to draw where your shadows are cascading back. We're just going to draw some soft lines that go underneath. And you can imagine like going through the object and how that might cascade out. If you have a little bit of a line like this, and there's my shadows. And the extra lines I get rid of. We're going to start with the white pastel. And I want you guys to look at your drawing and see where you see the lightest lights. So, and it's going to be filled in different spaces. Like I see it right through here. So I'm just going to quickly fill this in, this space, and I'll clean it up on the edges in a bit. And then another spot that I see it as its lightest light is right here in this area. That's closest to my light source. So I see that, very bright. And you'll try to get as close as you can with the charcoal, or I should say the pastel, but then you can come in with your white pencil and get cleaner edges down to this edge. And you can use an eraser to tidy up your lines as you go. So like right here, I have a very crisp line down the center seam. And if you want to blend it, the blending stumps are usually pretty dirty for the whites. So I usually take a little piece of paper towel for the whites. And this is good if you want to soften a white, if you don't want it too bright, or if you want to blend it. But sometimes when you blend it directly, it takes away a little bit of the tone, the brightness. So you can come back and just kind of brighten it back up with a little bit more. And make sure you have your edges. Now, the next step that you want to take is see where the light hits the edges and makes them very bright. So right along here, we have a very bright edge. I want to make sure it's very distinctive. And I have just a little bit of a white edge right in here where the light kind of hits the back foot there. And that's pretty much it. Everything else becomes a gray. So I'm going to just tidy that up. I'm going to take my eraser pencil. It's going to be a great way to crisp up a line. Okay. When you get to that, you've done just where your whitest whites are. You're going to go to your next gray. That's the very light gray. And you're going to look at your folded form and say, where is it the next lightest? And usually it's like somewhere in here, kind of on the underside. All right. I have it both on this underside too is kind of a light gray, but it's maybe just a little bit darker than the other one. So I'm going to use this light gray first, and I'm going to use a little bit of the medium gray in there as well. And again, just to make sure I'm nice and crisp, for this one I can use the blending stump because it's in the gray family. And then I'm going to look for my next darkest, which is this medium gray. That's going to go right here. It may be different for you guys where you're looking, so you're going to have to determine. And again, I can use my blending stump to get a nice crisp edge. I don't want to lose that white line because that's important. So the next tone that you're going to use is the second to darkest. Or we could use the Vine Charcoal. The Vine Charcoal is kind of in this range. So this is the dark gray, this is the black, and this is the Vine Charcoal, which is, I'm guessing, is kind of in between. So from here, I'm going to use this dark gray on this back area. This is kind of on the other side of the light, so I'm going to fill that in. And I'm also going to take my black charcoal pencil, or I could take my Vine. The Vine might be better. Take the Vine. And I'm going to cover up that line that was white, because it's not a white line. That was just my sketch line. I'm going to cover up that now with a darker line, so it makes sense. I can come in if you have extra and clean it up. And And I'm going to give myself just a little nuance right in here with the vine charcoal. And I'm going to blend this out with a blending stump, because it gets a little darker up in here. You can see that shadow. From there, I want to use the black for my darkest shadows. You can bring that right across just like this. You can blend those. It's easy on the outside edge. Gets a little harder when you get closer to the object. You might want to use your black charcoal pencil when you get close. And then over in this corner, I'm going to use my black charcoal pencil, just because it's hard to get close with that. See how that looks. Again, you can use a paper towel for doing a larger area and blending. A paper towel is sometimes, and your finger is a little easier. I wouldn't just use your finger. I don't think you have as much control. And I think the texture of the paper towel helps to blend it. Bring your lines right up to your object, just like so. And then you can also look at where your shadows are soft. Mine are not soft, but you may have some softer shadows. And if you want to do a little blending stump through there and make the edge just a little softer, you can. The last thing that you do is add a little white, because your foreground is white. You can add a little white for the paper if you want, if we have time. And you can look and see, like right along here where I have white paper, it turns ever so slightly gray back here. So I'm going to blend that gray in so that my white edge pops right out. And as it goes back farther, it'll get darker. And again, if I need to get a line kind of crisp, yes, we are. Okay. Thank you. All right. And that's how we finish it off. I'm going to stop the video.